We're ready, Ruben.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Like to call to order the regular meeting of the San Francisco Creek Joint Powers Authority. And with that, if we could have roll call
Director Abrika,
here.
Director Combs.
Here.
Director Cormack,
Here.
Director Kremen,
Here.
Director Pine.
Here.
Okay, so we're all here, and Director Cormack filling in today, so good to see you. Our next item is approval of the agenda. If there are no changes or additions, I could entertain a motion to approve the agenda. I move. Okay, moved and
Second.
seconded. If we could have then roll call vote.
Director Abrika,
Yes.
Director Combs,
Yes.
Director Kremen,
Yes.
Director Pine,
Yes.
Director Cormack.
Yes.
Okay, approved unanimously. Our next item is the approval of the minutes for the June 24th meeting. Also, are there any corrections or questions? Okay. Hearing none, also entertain a motion from somebody. I'll move.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, and we'll take the vote.
Director Abrika,
Yes.
Director Combs,
Yes.
Director Kremen,
Yes.
Director Pine,
Yes.
Director Cormack.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Item number 4 is public comment. And so this is an opportunity for any member of the public to address the JPA board on any issue that is not on the agenda, and give up to 3 minutes to make those statements. And Miko, do we have any requests?
I have not seen any requests and I do not see any hands raised at the moment.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll move along then and go into item 5, which is the executive director's report. So I will hand it over to Margaret for that.
Great, thank you. So this month's report is going to be fairly brief, and we can take time at the end if anyone has questions or wants some more technical details. As we reported last month, we were planning to and have now issued a solicitation for Reach One's monitoring and reporting work for years 7 through 10. I think that's right, or 3 through 10. And that solicitation is on the street, and we are, I think, receiving responsive feedback. We plan on scheduling our contractor selection for August 2nd. Work continues on interpretive panels and commemorative bench designs. We are working with our project designer and internally on the language for the interpretive panels. And I do believe Kevin has identified and will be purchasing a commemorative bench to be placed on the Friendship Bridge. If not this week, then next, coming up very soon. Glad to be making progress on that very nice capstone of the project. And the next slide. So Reach 2 upstream, there's been quite a bit of work going on here. On the 29th of June, we had a multi-agency meeting. There were a few action items which staff is addressing. Overall positive, well attended, lots of discussion. That was, again, overall very positive. Continuing to do design evaluations and working with Valley Water engineers and consultants to further refine designs so that we reduce the impacts around the bridge, particularly with trees in the area up and downstream immediately of the Pope Chaucer Bridge, to find ways of reducing that rock hardscape or adjusting it in a way to protect more trees. The LEDPA will be submitted in September. We're on track to do that. Again, LEDPA is the least environmentally damaging project alternative. We are beginning outreach to property owners in Palo Alto along the channel widening sites. Again, this is for to begin the process of either construction or access agreements, so easement agreements. And we have had one very positive outreach with one property owner who has said enthusiastically, why, yes, of course, you can have an easement on my property. So we'll be working with our colleagues at Valley Water to consummate those agreements. We are looking forward to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers CAP 205 team charrettes that I think Kevin or Tess, particularly Kevin, can talk more about. But these team charrettes are to get various elements of the Army Corps, our staff, and other agencies together around a table to talk about the history of the project, the course of our investigations, where we are with design, where we are with community outreach. And if anyone has any questions, Kevin is the point person on those team charrettes. Next slide. So progress is being made positively on Reach 3. The initial site investigations are complete. There is an information gaps memo being drafted, and it's presently in review between our team, the consultants, in Stanford. We have an informal consultation with wildlife agencies being planned to get their feedback on best probable approaches. And we're looking forward to bringing you a feasibility technical memorandum before the end of the calendar year. Next slide. And the good news of the week, Menlo Park brick application has been approved for additional evaluation. And as unglamorous as that sounds, I hope I can share a little bit more good news and details about that. We were on a call with FEMA that hosted a FEMA Brick Program 2020 Lessons Learned outbriefing. And on that call, that was a recap of the various applications and the process for those applications and the outcomes for those applications, we learned that nationwide, only 5% of the applications submitted were approved for additional evaluation. All of those who are quote unquote approved for additional evaluation, the total amount of money appropriated for this brick program year. So barring any unforeseen circumstances in their request for additional information, we are fairly confident that the funding will come through, that we will be finally and fully and very authentically approved for a $50 million grant for the Menlo Park Brick Safer program. So that's pretty darn exciting. We're also the only grant nationwide that was awarded the maximum $50 million grant award amount. So we had apparently high marks for our nature-based solutions that were proposed, as well as the extensive public-private partnerships that we forged to bring this grant to fruition. So that's pretty good news. We are also scheduled to present the SAFER project to the Brits, and Tess and Kevin can help me out with the acronym. I don't remember what BRIT stands for, Bay Regional something.
Yeah, it's the Bay Area Regional Regulatory Integration Team. And it's the umbrella group that was formed and funded under Measure AA that consists of representatives from each of the permitting agencies.
And moving forward, additionally, we will be releasing our notice of preparation to begin CEQA in September. And speaking of Measure AA, they have just released their notice of opportunity for the next round of funding. And that was released on July 8th. We are preparing our early pre-application and discussion with the Measure AA grant team, and are planning on submitting our application by or before the deadline of October 7th. So moving forward with SAFER. Next slide. Operationally, our banking transition is functionally complete. We still have accounts open in both institutions. However, we are slowly winding down the long tail of closing out the accounts at Wells Fargo. We are fully functional with First Republic Bank, and that has been a smooth and pleasant transition with a very high touch, very high service new banking institution. Another piece of big news for us as an organization and our member agencies partnering with us, we've reached out to FEMA, who are implementing a new risk methodology for flood insurance. That program is called FEMA Risk 2.0. We have coordinated with headquarters in Washington, D.C. for 2 speakers, both of whom are senior officials in that headquarters group, one in charge of the rollout of the new FEMA Risk 2.0 program itself, and the other is leading up the change in the methodology. So the actual, nuts and bolts of how they are ascribing risk. So those 2 people are going to be our speakers at a webinar, a 1-hour webinar on August 24th from not optimal at time, but this is when they were available, 10 to 11. And we're coordinating with our colleagues at Valley Water, at One Shoreline, and in the cities. We'll be hosting this, I think probably courtesy of Valley Water's jumbo Zoom account, but we'll be collaborating on outreach and hope to provide this as a benefit to our respective community members who may be impacted by this change in methodology and change in insurance rates. We'll probably have a follow-up webinar in 4 to 6 months after this one as the program begins to be implemented. And I think that's it. Next slide. Yes, the comprehensive plan. There have been a few folks who have provided comment. Thank you very much. They've been some great comments, some good input. We welcome those. We're appreciative of them. And if the board or any members of the community would like to provide additional feedback, that would be great. Please do so by the end of August. That's it. Next slide. Over to you, Director Abrika.
Ruben, you're
I
muted.
think you're muted.
My apologies. Didn't want to make noise, but now I need to make noise and just say, open up for board members for any questions or comments on any part of the report by Margaret. Anybody just jump in? I would say.
I'll go. Thanks, Chair Abrika. Just wanted to say, coming back in after a few months, how much I appreciate in the written director's report, the table that starts on page 1, the summary of Reach 2 project elements and status. I think that's an excellent addition to our work. So just wanted to share that.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else?
I had a question about this Safer Bay, if I could.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, jump in.
So that's really fantastic news about the BRIC application and the very high likelihood of receiving that very sizable grant. What is the budget for that project overall?
I'm sorry, could you repeat your question? There was some garble there. What is the overall?
Yeah, but projected budget for Safer.
That's, oh, there's a horrible echo. Can I get back to you on that? I think Tess and I are still working on that number. We have drawn out a sort of a matrix of all of the things that we have funded, all of the things that we don't have funded, and all of the places where we have funded, but where the cost may be escalating due to a long time lag from when a grant was applied for and when the money may be received. So it's, if I could put a like very broad side of a barn number, Director Pine, I'm thinking that it's approaching $100 million for the project from the northern border of Menlo Park to the southern border of East Palo Alto.
Yeah.
I was just trying to put the BRIC application in context. So
Okay, I could also provide a little bit more context because I'm working in the spreadsheets right now. So our 2016 FS estimated about 115 million total for reaches 1 through 9. But now that we've also got the Dumbarton Corridor study with MTC and their long-term solution, which is the solution that most folks are interested in, it really approaches 1.7 billion for that part. So I think there's a big cost range, and I'm going to be providing that range in our Measure AA application, but we definitely still have a gap. The $50 million does close a huge gap along Menlo Park, but we will still need additional funding, especially to address the Dumbarton Corridor portion of it.
And we are in communication with Caltrans and are hoping that they will be able to apply for next year's BRIC funding. And I'd also like to bring to the board a similar funding gap status and funding gap table for the Safer Bay project, like you have seen for the Reach 2 project.
Yeah,
So
that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Look for more of that in the near future.
If I could just follow up on Director Pine's questioning. So with regards to the reach that represented the BRIC application of Safer Bay, what percentage of that project is covered by this grant, this potential grant from FEMA? And then could you also say, like, because there are other entities other than government entities providing funding for that, or specifically providing the matching in the form of Facebook and PG&E, like what are, just so since we're on this topic, could you share what their contributions are?
PG&E contributed $10 million. Facebook contributed 7.8. That made up the local match so that we could apply for the full 50 million. So that makes up what 167.8 million dollars for the total cost of the project. I hesitate to tell you what that overall percentage is of what remains to be funded. I think Tess and I are still going through the calculations of those pieces that are not completely funded. The question is also about the Reach 1 portion of the Menlo Park shoreline and how much of that might be addressed by current work that is being, I don't say, in nascent development with one shoreline in the Cargill ponds. So what the scope of Reach 1 looks like may be changing. So I don't know, Tess, if you want to give a wag on what the BRIC grant does for the whole Menlo Park set of alignments. Are we at 75? Are we at 90? Or what percent funded do you think we might be, just as a start against the wall, not a commitment?
So in Menlo Park, the reaches are numbered 1 through 5, and 5 also extends into East Palo Alto. It's the most complicated reach. It includes the Dumbarton Corridor, and the FEMA BRIC funds a portion of Reach 2, all of Reach 3, and all of Reach 4, and a portion of Reach 5. So what's left is just Reach 1 and the other portion of Reach 2. So it does it moves Menlo Park substantially forward to getting a complete alignment and coverage. So all we would need is a little bit of Reach 1 and 2, and then the finishing off of Reach 5.
So Director Combs, I would say a wild, rough guess is about 75 to 80% of the funding for Menlo Park Safer is covered by the BRIC grant.
All right, thanks for that. And I just want to, because we were sort of talking about it in the Menlo Park context, I appreciate that water knows no city borders or boundaries, and we all know that. And so I just wanted to sort of have some clarity as it relates to Menlo Park, but everyone knows that again, the water and sea level rise does not respect boundaries, and we're all in this together. And so, you know, building a fort for Menlo Park does not serve or protect anyone.
Yeah. Any other board member have any
It's my, a question or two, Chair.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, Ms. Bruce, that there was at least one resident of Palo Alto that is enthusiastic about the easement situation.
Mhm.
You don't see anything that kind of hesitate any static there, do you?
I do. I absolutely anticipate some static.
Oh, okay.
We've had, there are 3 property owners along the San Francisco Creek Reach 2 project. 2 of whom we have a high, at the moment, our designs would require some type of easement from them, who have indicated their unwillingness.
All right. Okay. Is that unwillingness, or is that like kind of a financial negotiation, or is this not the right forum to talk?
I hesitate to talk about it right now, just because we're still working on some designs that either may ameliorate their concerns or may improve our negotiating opportunities with them. So, I don't want to close the door on negotiation, although they've been very emphatic. Until all the shouting's done, I don't think it's over. So I don't want to predispose us to no negotiation.
When you say easement, are you talking about temporary construction easement, or are you talking
No,
about?
in this case, it would need, depending on the design chosen for this particular channel widening area, we would need to have underground easement because we would be needing a soil nail wall. That's one of the design options. Those soil nails go underneath their property up to 25 or 26 feet. So there would need to be some compensation for the access to their underground property. In one case, there may be structures on that property that could be compromised by those soil nails. And so we would need to be careful about, how we either arrange where those soil nails are or compensate that person for potential damage to their property and, negotiate how we would resolve that damage. At the moment, they've just said, talk to the hand. We're not even willing to have a conversation. Go ye no further.
So just the magnitude compared to some of the things we're talking, and the water district deals with this all the time.
Yes.
These are underground. It's not like there's some plan to take someone's house or yard. It's
Right.
you need to go
right.
underneath the soil for this technology.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And maybe in one case it could affect the structure.
Right, and maybe in one case it could affect the structure. They have also expressed concerns about the soil nails or related excavation for the project, compromising tree roots on trees that are on their property. And while, I appreciate that concern, we have also said we will happily have arborists on hand to make an assessment of whether or not the work would be compromising those trees. Those are some of the concerns they've expressed, though, is if you compromise the trees, could those trees then fall and damage my home or my other property? And I appreciate that is they have large trees and they have that concern.
Okay. You mentioned the 100-year flood study. When and in what forum will you be kind of telling us what we've learned with respect to Stanford?
You mean the Army Corps of Engineers charrettes?
Well, haven't we been negotiating with Stanford for access?
Yes. So I think we are working through all of the data gaps, and I think Kevin can probably give me a better idea of when we will have an out briefing for you. Soonest would be October, more likely November.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Any other questions? If not, I just want to make a Yeah, kind of following up on the questions on the safer bay. Just a reminder that, out of our retreat, the board did feel that it was important to do a study session on the whole safer bay area, and do that in conjunction with or working together with the sea level rise, the San Mateo Sea Level Rise organization. I forget what the other title is, a long name, but and so I think that for that, and I think we're scheduling that for September. So we did have just a brief meeting with David, myself, Margaret, and Len. And so I think that for that meeting, it would be useful to, as much as possible, try to put something together in terms of this whole money, funding, gaps, percentages, anything and everything that we know up to now, just so that, and I think as Drew was saying, it can be sort of sectioned off in terms of Menlo Park or East Palo Alto, whatever, but just looking at it in different ways and trying to get a better understanding as much as we can at this point of what the whole picture is, including the private, entities and stuff.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, so anyway, I just want to make that comment because then, we were going to sort of look at different aspects of this whole area, including, I guess, also the Santa Clara County side. So I think somehow we'll get information or involve somebody from the shoreline project, or, just sort of, I think, to give a good, in the spirit of a study session, trying to get a better understanding of the different dimensions of that. So that should be a very instructive session. So, okay. All right, any other comments or questions on any aspects of the director's report? Or are there any members of the public that have any questions or comments? Miko, if you could let me know, or just invite them in.
I have not received any comments. I don't see any hands raised. Does anyone from the public wish to speak at this time?
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Okay, well, thank you very much, Margaret, for the extensive report on so many things. So, okay, the next item is number 6, which is any comments or announcements from board members on anything on your mind or anything you know is going on. Okay. I think hearing none. Yeah, so our next, oh, I'm sorry. Dave, did you have something?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard something. Okay. All right. So, yeah, at this point then, our last item, before adjournment will be a closed session. And I think, Miko, the way we do it is you put us in a room, right? And
Yes.
then
That's correct.
we automatically just go in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so, yeah, so I think for the time being, it will be only the board members, and then I think we may want to speak with Margaret, so we could, I could just send a text or a message, right when we know that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to see if there's any public comment on this item?
Oh, yes. And also before we go in, to see if there are any comments from the public on this.
Not seeing any.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll create the breakout rooms now.
Yes. And then Miko, I'll send you an email if we want to speak with Margaret or not.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I think we're all back, and at this point, just the report out of closed session is we had discussion, but no reportable action. And so that concludes our closed session. And just a reminder that we're not meeting in August, right? Is that correct? So
Correct.
I'm gonna wish everybody a good break, and we'll reconvene in September. Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.